So, I have a confession. I'm really tired of drinking cask strength whiskey. I feel like that was an announcement of some sort. It's a little anticlimactic to do it to a camera where there's no one else to respond to me appropriately. But I imagined in my brain an audible gasp from all the whiskey nerds. So let me give you some context. Mostly, I chose this whiskey, which we reviewed a long time ago, because I wanted to. So we'll talk about that in a second. I've been drinking this whiskey a lot recently, in the sense of, like, at my house, this has been probably my number one go-to sipper for like the last 6 months. Okay, it's not completely true that I'm over cask strength. I love cask strength whiskey. 90%, I counted it up last week, almost 90, it's like 88% of my home collection is 50% plus proof whiskey, or alcohol by volume. So 100 proof plus. More than, I mean, that's a lot, right? I don't have a lot of lower proof, reasonably accessible things. And so I get it. I've worked in the whiskey industry now for, like, officially in the whiskey industry for 10 years, 11 years. I got into it, I went on the same path as everybody else as I got more and more nerdy. I liked the higher proof because it is true that the higher proof alcohol can hold more of the flavor compounds and thus feel fuller, feel more, and carry more, have more tangible nose and palate. Yes, all those things are true. I didn't get tired of it by being a fan. I didn't get tired of it after we started the school. The switch for me, I realized, was a few years into blending professionally and running the distillery and the stills, like, professionally. So where every single day I was doing some sort of interaction with high proof alcohol. And then I would get home and I would either just not want any whiskey at all, or every once in a while I'd be like, you know, I'd like a whiskey, but then I'd go to my cupboard and everything is cask strength, special edition, barrel proof, single barrel, samples from friends of mine's barrels, SMWS bottles, and I'm like, oh. And I just want to go look for the Lagavulin 46%, or like a Jameson, or a Powers. Like, just give me something that's a little more approachable. And then I got into the habit with, with friends where I would, we would try a sample of something high, and then we would look for the budget thing, and this is what we would take out to the table to hang out together. But all you hear about in whiskey nerd communities is high proof is better, cask strength is better, quit watering our whiskey down, let us have all the flavors, blah, blah, blah. I get it, but I'm tired. And I want to try to create another storyline in the whiskey nerd community of the reminder of the place of low proof whiskey in a drinking habit. Fair? First, let's talk about Powers. Powers is, I'm going to say that Powers is my favorite Irish whiskey. And I love a lot of Irish whiskeys. Love them, right? I find something to love about almost all of them. I love the nerdiness of Teeling, and I love Teeling whiskey and what they create. I like the Middleton Method and Madness stuff. I like the Middleton releases. I like Jameson. I like Bushmills. I like Dingle, and I mean, all of the different cask ones I love. But for an everyday sipper, for just a can never fail me, will always enjoy it, don't even have to think about it, but love every sip, Powers, and specifically this one, John's Lane. And I pulled this whiskey to drink because in the last 3 months, I have recommended this bottle a dozen times in random conversations where someone says, what's a recommendation you have for Irish whiskey? And I was like, Powers, John's Lane, start there. And then work your way out. And then I realized we hadn't reviewed it on the channel in a while, and I was getting ready to shoot this week's round of videos, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to talk about it on the channel again. I love Powers. I love Powers. I like even their new bottles. I love their new labels. I love the whiskey. Powers John's Lane, for me, if I walk into a room and I'm not sure what I want to drink, and I see Powers John's Lane, I will beeline for it immediately, like radar. It is, as far as, like, it's up there with just a Laphroaig 10, Lagavulin, and Scotch world for me, right? As far, like, categorically, I see this, I feel good. I feel happy. And so, this is, remember, Pot Still Whiskey Powers is one of the original Irish whiskey families, and family members of the Powers family worked in the distillery until the last, 50-ish, 40, 60-odd years. John Ryan, I think, was the last one of the actual Powers family members. And I have kind of a hero in Powers because he was instrumental in bringing the Irish families together to save Irish whiskey from collapse. If you remember that story that I told, that was last year, about Irish whiskey's history. And so I just kind of admire the original man, Powers. I think he was cool. And man, this is just the perfect quintessential pot still Irish whiskey. On the nose, as soon as you pick it up, that perfect combination of shortbread, vanilla bourbon with a little bit of fruity jam topping from the Oloroso sherry casks. It's fresh barley, honey drizzled shortbread. It's like kind of a chocolatey direction, but it's definitely milk chocolatey. And then kind of soft. Oh, that palate. Come on. That's where the jam takes over. So in the palate, in the nose, it's all that sort of bourbon direction, vanilla-y, but with a hint of what the sherry is doing. On the palate, they swap places, and the sherry cask is carrying all of the fruity notes and the jammy notes that are, layered across this shortbread biscuit. That sort of carries the back end. And then the aftertaste is kind of, metallic is the wrong note, but like vanilla penny. Oh, damn, that's good. I forgot my water. I was going to add water to it, but I don't care. It's 46%. So I'm living in my happy place already. 12 years old. I'm looking for the proof. I'm making sure I didn't get it wrong. Yeah, I didn't mislead you. Okay, my brain was saying 46. I just wanted to make sure that was correct. Okay, so coming back. High proof whiskey. Okay, in my experience as a blender, and as a drinker, it's true that I think the magical sweet spot where low enough proof is accessible, but high enough alcohol content to carry maximum flavor for the proof really is somewhere around the 50% marker. Within 1 or 2% in either direction, 49, 51, 52. That right there, I always found when I was blending, held the most flavor without the ethanol becoming a stopping point or too bitey. And before you all flood the comments, I'm fully aware that I'm capable of adding water to my whiskey. I know how it works. And yes, there is a whole contingent of internet people who are like, give it to me cask strength, and then I can proof it down and choose it. And yeah, but there's something to be said for just opening a bottle and pouring a glass and being done sometimes. Like sometimes you want to smoke a pipe and do all the work and all the packing and the tamping and protect it and get the right draw. And sometimes you want to light a cigar and just sit there and talk with your friends. So yeah, sometimes you want to take a whiskey and add water and proof it down and explore and try it at various levels and open it up. And sometimes you just want to pour a whiskey and just have a sip and just relax and not think about it too much and enjoy yourself, right? So, not to mention, like my hangouts with, my dad or friends or Emma, when we sit out on the deck, we might be out there for 3 or 4 hours. And if you were only consuming cask strength alcohol, that's a problem. You either get to drink way less than you want to, just because you're trying to maintain, or that's when it's really good. And I found that our habit tends to be bring one real fancy high proof bottle of something, SMWS, or something interesting, pour that, and then bring a Powers, or bring a Jameson, or bring a budget blend, a Scotch, or something like that. And then just kind of refill on the lower less aggressive whiskeys so that, you know, you don't die, which is always an important part of whiskey gatherings, not dying. That's the kind of a key part, actually. Yeah. So I think what I would say is, sure, whiskey nerds, enjoy your high proof. I get it. I agree with you for all some of the same reasons, but don't forget there is a place for low proof whiskey, and it's not just for cheaping out or trying to make extra money. Sometimes it's just right where it belongs, and sometimes it's just what you want to drink and what you need. Cheers to you. I'm really glad you're here. This week begins the quarterly Whiskey Vault Dry Week. We use a week to check in to make sure we don't have any dependency issues, take a little break from alcohol. It starts at noon, Friday, February 21st, and ends at noon, February 28th.